Hey Jiffy, a new DOS Man game just dropped.
What we do here is go back.
Hello boys and girls, it's your boy King Jiffy Coats, and today we're going to be looking at one of the weirdest, most experimental games I think I've come across in my channel. Now, I didn't come across this like organically or whatever. I have been a big proponent of DOS Man games ever since the first time they said, "Hey Jabroni, do you want to make a video for us?" And I said, "Absolutely. Let me get some of that DOS Man meat and put it right in my mouth." And I love the fact from the very beginning they never tried to tell me what I had to put in or what I had to take out in my videos. They just said, do whatever, make as many tit jokes or taint jokes or clit jokes as you possibly want to make in your video. Do whatever and just be you, be authentically you. And ever since, I've had a very good relationship with DOS Man, and they usually provide me with review copies for their games, and this is no different. I was provided with a review copy for Night Jackal Blood Debt, which is the pseudo-sequel slash reboot slash spin-off or whatever it wants to be of the original Night Jackal, which was a driving NAS arcade style game that I have never played, have no interest to play. It's not my genre, not my thing. If you want to go look it out, it's on Steam. I'll put the link in below, as well as the link for this game, which spoilers, it's good enough to buy, guys. I have no real gripes with the actual gameplay and the mechanics. It is another step in the right direction for this baby FPS engine called Easy FPS Editor that is amazing. Another great entry and a slew of entries that I've covered on my channel. I am actually really in love with a lot of the new mechanics and the new ideas going forward in this engine. I think there's been leaps and bounds from the first DOS Man game that I have played to what we're at now, and that is a huge love and kiss on the tip of the penis for this developer. He has done great work, so go play his game. It's like $3 fucking bucks, guys. Come on, quit being a pussy, go buy the game. I know you're here to be like, oh well, I'm not sure if it's my type of. Do you like FPS games? Do you like them? Is that something you want to go play? Are you like, oh, I like Doom style retro indie games? Then go play it. You'll like it. You'll have fun. It's interesting. It's got a lot of cool dynamic areas. You will enjoy it. I always get annoyed when I'm like 30 minutes into the video and I'm like, he hasn't really covered the mechanics or if I should buy the game yet. Buy the fucking game. Go do the thing. It's in the description down below. And with that out of the way, there is some stuff that I want to cover and a lot of ideas that have been bouncing around my head since the moment I fired this bitch up. Since the moment my nipples got hard in the opening segments of this FPS game, I decided I wanted to cover a bunch of different bases. We're first going to start with the idea of an FPS game superhero. This is crazy that we live in a world where there is only really 1.5 FPS games based around a superhero due to my research. Now, I'm sure I missed something along the way. You'll have to let me know in the comments. But I have not found a lot of FPS superhero games. They barely exist, which is crazy considering FPS games have been around for so freaking long. They've been around since the early 90s, late 80s. So why have we yet to get an FPS game centered around a superhero? That is a great question. The closest I could find was Punisher No Mercy. It was a first-person shooter video game that released on July 2nd of 2009 on the PSN store. The game featured an arena-based gameplay with 4 arenas available at launch, including New York, docks, and factories. Players can carry 3 weapons at a time, and the story mode consists of 4 matches played on different maps with various game types. And this is why I never hunted this game down or really looked too much into it or even thought, you know what, I'm going to emulate this bitch, because it didn't really seem like much of a game, as much of just a weird co-op thing that you could get on PSN and play with your buddies for 30 minutes and then be bored of it for the rest of the time you're messing with it. That just kind of felt like what the Punisher No Mercy game was. It was like, oh yeah, you got fucking goons, shoot goons with friends, you're the Punisher, whatever. It wasn't like the original 2004 Punisher game, which is absolutely kick-ass and one of the coolest things ever. 2005 I think is when it actually came out. And upon this jump is where I fell into another little bit of a rabbit hole and started thinking the only place that I really feel, other than the 90s, of course, because this game is 90s FPS as shit, as well as everything that comes out on Easy FPS Editor. I think Easy FPS Editor has always been a good hybrid of what the build engine was doing and what the early Doom engine was. So, of course, it's going to have ties to that era. But the era I think this game sits most comfortably in is the 2000s, back when you had these weirdest experimental games such as Ultimate Alliance, the Punisher game, the weird Spider-Man games, the first of which was obviously a movie tie-in, but the one that I remember thinking about the entirety of the playthrough through Night Jackal was Ultimate Spider-Man. Ultimate Spider-Man was a 2005 action-adventure game based on the Marvel Comics version of Spider-Man, which was always very interesting to me because they had success with the movie tie-in, and they could have just said, okay, we're going to do another movie tie-in like Spider-Man, we're going to base it around a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and he's going to fight new villains and go through new adventures, and we're just going to have it be a pseudo pull-in or pseudo fucking spin-off from the series that's its own thing, but we make our money and put in like a half-assed attempt at making something cool. They could have done that. Studios do that all the time, especially in the 2000s. They just kind of would slap names on stuff and say, hey, make money for me. Or they could have done even a Spider-Man animated series game like they were doing with Batman and Superman at the time. They were like, okay, well, we had the movie tie-in, well, now let's do a cartoon tie-in. But instead of going in either of those directions, they said, nope, we're going to go shell shading. We're going to make it look like the comic. Venom's going to be a playable character where he can eat children and civilians and just cause massive destruction and carnage, no pun intended. And with the exception of some of the more grindier parts, I think it's still probably my favorite Spider-Man game I've ever played. I remember as a kid going from reading comics and playing video games, two things I absolutely adored. I remember the one game that really like connected that gap between the two was Ultimate Spider-Man. I remember seeing this game, looking at the back of it, said, oh my god, this looks like a comic book. I have to play this. You get to play as Venom. This is sick. And from the opening portions of this game where you're fighting as Venom versus Wolverine, it's just so cool, and it has such a love for the comics, and the design is just so timeless. There's really nothing like this game until I played Night Jackal. It has so many ties to this era of gaming. I even think of some of like the other experimental games like Max Payne. I remember Max Payne having the comic panels, and it was really cool and artistic, and it had this Dark Horse Comics vibe that a lot of games at that time were. This entire era was really kind of pulled from the influences of these nerds making these games, and you could totally feel it. You felt like the developers were more people like you and less poshy douchebags in LA, where like you would feel with the film industry, for example. I remember watching a lot of the comic book movies and stuff, and there would be standouts, of course, the X-Men movie, Spider-Man, Blade, but then there was other ones that just felt fucking out of place and all over batshit hell in terms of insanity and slapped no clit. That every woman who walked out of some of these weird 2000 superhero movies were fully not juicing their panties. They weren't getting any sort of clit slapped, which sucks because at the time I was excited for every single one of these superhero movies, being such a fan of all these different comics, and you kept running away with a lot of movies that would either pull from The Crow, like Daredevil, for example, as well as the Punisher 2000s Punisher movie, which both of those movies I think hold something near and dear to my heart due to the fact that there was so little in terms of superhero media at the time that it was nice to have anything. But looking at it in the idea of a kind of a retrospective situation, yeah, they're kind of dog shit. And yet when you looked at video games, sure, there was plenty of tie-ins that would either be dog shit or surprisingly good, but there was also the experimental stuff that you wouldn't see in today's world. I mean, even with the modern Spider-Man game, that was one of the most safe gaming experiences I'd ever played. Now, a lot of people disagree with my opinion on the Spider-Man PS4. Felt like that game was the most cookie-cutter bullshit game I'd ever played. It rips off the Arkham style combat, the swinging is cool, but I mean, you have to have cool swinging. It's a Spider-Man game. What the fuck else do you expect? But I just felt like it was safe. It looked at what was going on in the industry and said, we are going to make a cookie-cutter industry-style Spider-Man game. And it appealed to everyone except for me, who grew up with a lot of the more experimental-style superhero games. I mean, even the original Arkham was a very experimental-style game. It had a new combat system that hadn't been seen in anything else. It was dark and gritty. It could have just kept going with their movie adaptations, considering the first Dark Knight movie adaptation game, Batman Begins, was a pretty fun romp as Batman. It wasn't anything that broke the mold, but it was a pretty decent game, and they could have just continued on in that direction, but instead they went with a hybrid between the Dark Knight comics meets the animated series meets the grittiness of the new Christopher Nolan movies, which was the Arkham series. Super experimental, super weird, and yet it is still to this day the greatest Batman series to ever touch video games. Let alone one of the best superhero video game series to ever touch the medium as a whole. And of course, there's other examples, such as the Ultimate Alliance. I mean, the idea of how much time I put into that game growing up and how weird it was that Activision was like, you know what, we got this studio, they want to make a Diablo with superhero characters. We have the rights, have your fun, get wacky, get goofy, go crazy. And it is a wacky, goofy, crazy, fun adventure. And to this day, I haven't played a Diablo style game that grabbed me as hard as Ultimate Alliance did. I don't think there's any RPG in the style of Diablo that I put as much hours into. I remember just getting home from school and my dad was like, you want to play Ultimate Alliance? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to play Ultimate Alliance. I want to unlock more characters. I want to unlock more costumes and endings and go through all the whole different dialogue choices. I wanted to do that type of stuff with my dad, and we put so much hours into it, so much time. And it's crazy that you think of the world we're living in now, where everything has to be multi-hundred million dollar games, that studios are afraid to try something really risky and dangerous because there's so much money on the line, when back in the 2000s they were like, Diablo style Marvel game? Fuck it, why not? Full send, baby. Well, is the closest game I could find that kind of fit the genre of what Night Jackal is, would be the other comic inspired FPS game that I could find other than the Punisher one, and that is Judge Dredd. Judge Dredd is the weirdest, goofiest FPS game ever made. Now, is it changing the world of FPS gaming at the time? No, not even a little bit. But it had goofy stuff where you could arrest every fat woman just because maybe you're fat phobic or something and you couldn't find the clit, so you're mad about it because you fucked the fold for 4 hours. So you're like, I want to arrest her because she's stupid and I hate her. And you could do that in the Judge Dredd game. It was part of the fun, part of the allure of what that game was. And the idea that you're Judge Dredd hunting down these dark judges, which Judge Dredd is already very superhero styled in the essence of what he is, and his enemies are very over the top comic book villains, and the game really embodies that for a weird throwaway bargain bin styled game that it kind of felt like in that day's world. Now it feels like the weirdest, most fun, goofy thing you can find on a Saturday while going through GOG, because it only goes to show what we took for granted in that era, because the 2000s did embody such offbeat, goofy, experimental era in gaming. We were going from hard gaming experiences with little story or no story at all, where you just blow shit up or hack and slash your way through it, to where we're going to start adding story into these games. They're going to start breaching into more of a multimedia zone instead of just being this throwaway game you play. That it wanted to be more of a high art than just a time waster on a Saturday. Not to say that old games weren't high art, but you know what I mean. And if I had to categorize what Night Jackal was, and if I was looking at a page on Steam and I was like, games like Night Jackal, I don't think I would be pulling from the Dooms, the other easy FPS games. I think I would be pulling from Ultimate Spider-Man, which isn't on Steam, or what is on Steam is the Judge Dredd game. I would be pulling from stuff like that because this feels very Dark Horse, very in-your-face Watchmen-esque type video game. I mean, even the segments throughout the gameplay, like you mowing people down in the prison, that feels so Rorschach to me. And I kept having these ideas where throughout the adventure as Night Jackal, who is a parody of Batman, I'm having so many pulls to a very Alan Moore-esque comic book in video game form, and that's so cool to me. That's such a weird pull. It's such a visceral feeling when going through this game that you're having all these ideas and these nostalgia pulls without it sitting there and hitting you with member berries. It's naturally nostalgia baiting you without nostalgia baiting you, which is incredible and good design, and it makes me love this adventure so much more. It has these pulls that are like, oh, that's obviously Mysterio from the Spider-Man games, right? That's 100% Mysterio. You're fighting Mysterio in a part of this game, but it's not Mysterio. It's like a parody of Mysterio for Batman, but not a Batman, a parody of Batman, who actually kills, but he's still a billionaire. And then on top of that, I did have a vibe of the Zack Snyder Batman versus Superman. Now, I know that's a weird pull, and a lot of people hate that movie, but I remember the part of the movie that I liked is where the building goes down and Bruce Wayne is pulling like some people out, and he's trying to save people while buildings are falling down because Superman's fighting Zod. And I remember liking the idea that Batman's sitting here thinking, who's this alien destroying these cities, killing these people, and the justification that I'm a hero. Who is this asshole? I'm going to take him down. And yet when I play Night Jackal, I start to have the pull to that because of the fact that that's kind of what Night Jackal is, but somebody else is saying, who the fuck are you, Batman? Who do you think you are, you billionaire asshole, just going out there and kicking the shit out of criminals because you feel like somebody stepped on your penis? And it's such a cool dynamic that I have all these medias that I can pull from, all this endless source material and worlds of nerdom that I can look at and say, oh, it's kind of like that, but it's not like that at the same time. Which is the best form of parody, in my opinion, or satire, I guess, is when you can look at the thing that it's satirizing, right? And you can say, yeah, it's definitely that, 100% that. This is a satirical Batman game. But I also can know that it's not just a satire of Batman, that it is its own thing. It's not sitting here saying, oh, do you not get it? It's a satirization of Batman. Oh, you don't have to be that smart. No, it wants you to think. It wants you to dive into all these worlds that you love and keep pushing forward. This isn't like that weird 2000 superhero movie with Drake Bell, where you're like, oh yeah, no, it's Spider-Man, but it's not Spider-Man because, haha, get it? It's making fun of other superhero movies. And then it's like kicking you in the side every 2 seconds to say, did you get the reference? It's like, yeah, I fucking get it, dude. You can calm down. This isn't that. This isn't sitting there just beating your dick off until you come because it knows that you like superheroes. No, it is a superhero that is based on other superheroes, that's satirizing other superheroes, but it lives in its own world and it has its own motif. And that's the brilliance of it, because you can say, well, I don't know if it's really Batman, maybe it's more of Rorschach, or I don't know if it's really Rorschach, maybe it's more a Punisher. And you can have these multi-directional pulls when playing this game that pull you to all the things you love, and that is true beautiful art. And I can't reiterate this enough on my true love of this experience. And that was one of my difficulties when firing up the OBS to start recording for this video. One of the biggest hassles I had when trying to draft scripts and all sorts of different stuff is, how am I going to go about this? How am I going to explain all these different directions that my nipples are getting pulled when I know I only have 2 nipples, so that's 2 directions. You think, maybe I have 6 nipples. Maybe I'm like a weird cow person. You don't fucking know. But I'm getting pulled in all these different directions, and I'm like, how do I structure this in a way that doesn't sound like insane schizo rambling? And I really can't. And that to me is when I've had real fun with an experience, because it's easy to me to say, oh, the game's dog shit, this is why. I can just sit here and rip it apart in every direction for 20 minutes or something, or an hour. Or the game is a nod to some historical thing that I can spend 30 minutes explaining the historical thing, and then I say game good. This is different than all of that, because it's fully relying on anything other than itself. And yet it is relying on all these other source materials, as well as media influences, without fully relying on them, which is the beauty of what it is. Which brings me to the engine, right? I know that's like a cold turn in a new direction you might feel, and it doesn't have like a natural pull in this direction. But you look at easy FPS, right? When I first started playing with this engine, I felt like it was a goofy Doom meets build type thing that was very archaic, yet easy to work on. And I felt like after a while it was going to become the RPG maker of FPS games and become the industry whore, right? It was going to be sitting in the bathroom stall with penises coming through holes, and they were going to be jerking off and sucking as many as they possibly could. And yet, the further it's gone along, the further it's progressed, even things in this game, such as enemies needing to be hit with the jackal ring, or the jackal fucking boomerang thing. And then you have to, in order to stun them, so then you can shoot them and kill them, which is such a cool mechanic. And there's so many weird off-the-wall mechanics that heightened this game from the last easy FPS game you played, that turned this into more of something along the lines of GZ Doom. And you're starting to see this engine that was very much based on Doom and build become its own thing and become this ultimate conversion of what the original idea was, and the community fosters it to be this engine that will stand in a sea of other independent media engines, which I'm truly in love with. Yes, it has inspiration from all these other directions, but it is its own thing at this point, and I think that's so incredible, because having a mod for Doom in terms of a superhero game isn't anything original, right? I remember when I played, I think I called it Batman Hates Black People. It was a Batman mod for Doom, right? And the whole thing was you were running through cities and stuff, fighting black thugs. It was a bunch of like Crips and Bloods. You were killing them, and all the enemies just happened to be black for some reason. Probably because the indie modder was like, oh, look at all these fucking models that are gangster oriented. I'm just gonna pull a bunch of them, and they just all happen to be black. So you just have Batman just beating the shit out of black people, gentrifying all the different areas in the game, which is just a wild dynamic. You'll have to check out my Doom mod videos to get some of these references, I guess, but I just remember thinking that game was so buggy, it made no sense, it didn't feel like a cool superhero game. And this, on the other hand, built on the easy FPS engine, is like, no, we're not a Batman mod. We're not Batman the game. We are the Night Jackal. You will embody the Night Jackal. You will play a game that is fully fleshed out and runs smoothly and isn't crashing every 2 seconds. Unlike a Doom mod, of course, because that Doom mod I played was just fucking diabolical in terms of performance. This is a fully fleshed out game and fleshed out world, and that's nice to see compared to some of the mods of previous lifetimes, I guess, or previous eras. And yet it still harkens back to an era of mods and the style of that Days Gone world of Doom mods, which I think is so inspiring and cool at the same time. That's why this is such a conundrum of a game to make a video on, because yes, it is very much a pull from the Doom mod era, and yet it is not a Doom mod. It is not on the Doom engine. It is on a weird indie 2D sprite styled engine, and yet it pushes forward in its own direction, and it goes past what we saw back in the 2000s and 90s. It is truly something that can be made today with the love and retrospective of the eras past and long gone, without looking on that era and shitting on it, which is super cool. Because yeah, you see so many games that pull from that old aesthetic of the 90s and become just another nostalgia based style experience, when this is like, no, I do love that I'm utilizing that era, but I'm my own thing. But I am something that truly could only be made in today's day and age, because I am pushing this medium forward on this current engine in this current world. I am pushing in this direction because I have the tools given to me from days past, and that's something truly inspiring. But let me know what you guys think. I know this video was a little all over the place and kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different ideas into one pressed video format that you're probably going to watch half of while jerking off in the shower or something and not really pay too much attention to my rambling. But I hope you at least enjoyed the rabbit hole that I went down in my research and in my love of this experience. So let me know what you think in the comments, and make sure to like and subscribe, because I want to keep doing this and I want to keep bringing stuff to you guys. I really do enjoy making videos for all of you. I've had so much fun in my channel, in my, I guess, art form and artwork in this media that I like pushing out to you guys, and the ideas that I'm able to regurgitate to some sort of audience, I think is really cool, and that we live in a world where this is something that exists. I really appreciate it all. But yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one, and go buy this game. It's out now. I mean, I don't know what you're waiting for. I've already gushed for like an abundance amount of time on how much I love this experience and how you should go play it. So go buy the game. Make sure to send DOSman some love, and until next time, stop gooning in the goddamn closet.